We're live. Good morning, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Banter with Beth, our new IGTV series. We're so happy that we're bringing this to you. It's a chance for me to talk about the film that I've been working on for the last 3 years, Would You Hide Me? Good morning. And Would You Hide Me is a story about 7 Jewish siblings who were hidden for 2 years outside of Berlin during World War II. It's a story of hope. It's a story of miracles. It's a story of bravery and courage. And we put the focus on the people who stood on the right side of history and took action, did the right thing in the face of tremendous risk and adversity. So this IGTV series, Banter with Beth, is an opportunity for me to actually talk about what other people in the world are doing and how they're engaging in the conversation that is about compassion and empathy and tolerance. So I'm really happy to be here this morning. We've got a big campaign right now. Of course, it's December. Giving Tuesday was last Tuesday, but it hasn't ended. This morning, if you have subscribed to our newsletter, and you can do that by going on to either bethlane.com or wouldyohideme.com. And the newsletter this morning, I believe the subject line was the miracle of paying it forward. And we are asking everyone to give us an $18 contribution. The number 18 is the numerical value for the word chai in Hebrew, which means life. And if everybody gives us $18 and tells 18 friends to consider donating $18, we're going to make our year-end goals, and we'll be able to get this incredible film out of the edit suite and onto the screen. So good morning, Carrie. Okay, Carrie is our guest this morning. Yes, we're going to go live right on the nose, right at 10 o'clock. I love it. I love it. That means I'm getting better at this platform. So she's connected. Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm so good, and I'm so happy to see your smiling face. How are you?
I'm good. So I want everyone to know who you are. This is Carrie Maloney of Carrie Allison Projects. And if anybody walks the walk and talks the talk, it's you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Carrie has a boutique firm it's a fundraising and development firm that really serves underprivileged communities and causes that are near and dear to your heart. Good morning, Nancy. So, let's just first of all, how's your Wednesday morning going? We're in lockdown here again.
We are.
How are you doing? I bought toilet paper this morning.
Oh my gosh. I know. Well, I'm considering investing in different companies like that. I mean, after the first lockdown, I started watching prepper videos. I mean, I went a little off the deep end, and I have now, my pantry is full of all sorts of vitamins. I have dog food galore. I really panicked, is the truth.
But we all did. We all I think, went into that mode of what should we do?
I know, and you've had so much going on, but you guys did something really interesting because you went on a road trip. You got it together and took advantage of doing things differently, which I really admired when you told me about that. I thought that was really great.
Thank you. I am doing a weird thing right now. I'm getting 10,000 phone calls, and I'm live on Instagram. Leave me alone.
I inspire conversation in all directions.
I'm so sorry.
It's quite all right. It's all right. Not an issue.
The things that happen, and especially because this is a family member. You guys should know that I'm live on Instagram at 10 o'clock
That's
every
right.
Sunday, Wednesday morning, right?
You have a film to promote.
Right, because it's all about me, right? It's just all about
Absolutely, isn't it?
Schedule. All right, so back to where we were. So you were saying, yes, we did take a road trip. That was a really, I think, important thing to do for our mental health.
I love that you did that.
Oh, thank you. Well, I encourage it. I encourage everyone to just go rent that RV, get in, get on the road, get outside of yourself, get outside of your own personal concerns of the orbit that you're living in, the panic mode, the everything, and see what's out there in the country. This is an incredible country. And let's see what's happening in different states and different counties. How are other people navigating the world right now? And so it was a really valuable trip and experience, and certainly a nice time to just be with my husband. So I loved that.
And so nice. Yeah, I drove across country with one of my best friends when I was in college. And we still laugh about those memories. It was absurd. It was absurd in all the best way, but it was great. And it's a wonderful way to see the States if, you know, you haven't really given yourself that opportunity. I encourage everyone to do it. You can do it on the cheap and you can do it quite fancy. There's all sorts of ways.
Right. So let's talk about youth. Let's talk about how you got involved in fundraising and development in the first place. Like how did your path even get you there?
Gosh. Well, the short version is I grew up with a mother who was from a philanthropic family, but also was quite sort of a social activist, I would say. You know, we lived out here I'm from Connecticut, but we moved out here in the late 70s, and she was really active in making public education fair and ensuring that everybody had equal access to quality education. So one of her big things was, and you'll be familiar with this, I'm sure, but launching busing. So busing from inner city kids into the Palisades, Pacific Palisades. And she did that with Jesse Jackson and a few other people. So she was really instrumental. And I kind of knew she was doing that at the time. I was at Canyon School. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't until I was older, actually, and I came across a box of sentimental things that she had where I was able to see all the notes and the death threats and the articles and the huge amount of upheaval that happened by she and her friends taking this stand that they did. And, you know, there was a lot to learn, and I learned quite a bit from it. And then from there, I was, you know, I'll give you the short version, but I'd done a bunch of things in for-profit, and I was teaching preschool in Marin County and in the Bay Area. And I would see the development office miss gifts. So somebody would come in, it was a private school, and they would offer something. And then, you know, the school could have done much better, but they accepted the baseline. So I thought, well, I'm comfortable talking to all these parents. I'm the head teacher. I'm friends with them. They confide in me. I confide in them. I see them outside socially. So I said, you know, how about I help you guys? I feel like this is something I could do on the side. And then I wound up really doing the majority of the development and teaching.
Wow.
So I thought, okay, you know, I could find out a more streamlined way to do this that really benefits me and I get to see the world. So I decided I'd always had an interest in Africa. I'd have friends whose families have been very involved in Africa. I was not that family. I grew up, you know, we went to Europe occasionally, and we went to Florida and Vermont. We weren't like, you know, this exotic traveling family. So I thought, okay, but this is my chance. So that's what I did. I started working with different organizations with an emphasis on Africa with the intent of learning. And I learned so much. And I did that for a long time. And then subsequently ran the U.S. operation for the couple who owns Lululemon. I ran their entire program in Ethiopia, and I loved it. And that was fantastic. And we built 487 schools for underserved populations throughout the country. Yeah.
I don't think we've talked about that before.
Oh, really?
I don't think I've even told you that. Our neighbor in Ojai, mm-hmm. I think was the CMO for Lulu, like from the beginning or something. Anyway, we'll talk.
We can talk about that offline
a little bit later. But I can't believe we missed that.
Chip and Shannon, they're friends. Shannon follows me on Instagram. She's my pal,
nice.
And she now has a terrific bathing suit line. Left on Friday, give her a little plug.
Yeah.
But so I did that, and I worked in the Middle East for doing a micro enterprise program for displaced women. I ran that with a wonderful family foundation, the Sager Family Foundation. We did that in the Middle East and Rwanda. And I learned I learned so much. The first thing is that everybody's very much the same, you know, at their heart. If you have a good heart and if you can joke around and have a good time, people in conflict zones and in crises areas, that's not the only thing they think about. That's not all of them. It doesn't define them. They have this huge life that they bring and culture and interests, and it's just I made lifelong friends. So
Beautiful.
yeah. So then from there I just was really tired. I was all of a sudden running around.
What, you mean globe trotting isn't relaxing?
Yeah, and I was great for everybody else's life, but my own, I came back, I remember turning the light on. If anyone knows me who's watching this, they're going to laugh, but turning the light on in my living room and being like, oh, what is going on with this? And I called my landlord and I was like, I don't know what's going on with the wiring in this building, but it's terrible. And she said, Carrie, you've been gone for about 8 weeks. Did you pay your bill? And I thought, oh my gosh, no. No, I didn't. And then that's when it was like, okay, time to rejigger this whole thing. And I took what I thought was going to be a break, and then people reached out to me and asked me for some guidance and support. And I thought, okay, well, maybe there's a business here. So yeah, cut to however many years later. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's really neat. I work with all sorts of groups. I'm working on a whale sanctuary in Nova Scotia with really interesting people founded by the leading neuroscientists on cetacean brains and people involved with blackfish and the director of the Cousteau Society. And, you know, then it just runs the gamut. And then you and I are working on some projects together, which is very exciting.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. And that's been really great for me because your film, Would You Hide Me, is so inspiring. And we were connected through a friend, Michael Siegel. And he said, Carrie, you're going to love this project. It's just a really incredible story about a woman's experience with her 6 siblings and as a hidden child, and the filmmaker is fantastic, and we met through friends. And to me that was really compelling because I'd grown up with a grandfather who was part of the Greatest Generation. Mm-hmm. And in World War II he liberated a concentration camp, and when he left he took the wall-sized flag of a swastika. And I grew up with him coming to my show and tells at different, I mean, and he was quite a character. Like he came to, and you'll appreciate this, Beth, my nursery school in Evanston.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I guess Lincoln Park maybe was where I went. I can't remember where I went.
Yeah.
I don't know that area very well anymore. But yeah, and he came to show and tell with the swastika flag, explaining it. We were a little young to understand the magnitude of it, but we subsequently donated it to the Smithsonian.
I mean, what's so interesting, well, first of all, last week on the show,
I know.
Goldstein, who wrote that incredible article about the swastika in the closet, and her grandfather had done a similar thing. He actually was at the Eagle's Nest after liberation and took the swastika and the entire, what do you call it? The core, I'm not part from really a military family. I guess I am, but it's been so long since they were in the military. But whatever they're called, when they go in and as a group together, they all signed it.
Oh, wonderful.
They all signed it. And so I think it's wonderful that you were able to give it to the Smithsonian because their family actually had a very hard time dodonating it. All the museums said, we have too many flags. You know, we don't need any more flags. It's like, but it's from the Eagle's Nest. Like, what do you mean? You know,
yeah, we actually had competition for it. And some people, and some people wanted us to auction it at Christie's or Sotheby's. Mm-hmm. If we did, we would have donated the funds regardless. Right. But yeah, it was unbelievable.
But you also never know where it's going to wind up if you auction it off. You know, you have no control over who the buyer is. And
yeah, that's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Certainly, I don't think in the past, or at least really post World War II, we were too concerned about a second market for things like this. And unfortunately, right now in 2020, about to go to 2021, it's of grave concern. It's like a major, major concern at this point, which is just mind blowing to me. It's staggering.
It is.
What is something about what you do? What's your favorite thing about what you do as a fundraiser and someone who works in development?
Well, the way I really miss studying, which is so funny because I wasn't necessarily the greatest student. And maybe I have a little bit of latent guilt about that. So I'm compensating now, where I look at my caseload, if you will, of my clients, and I deliberately structure it where each client is the only area really where I focus. So I get to learn all about a topic, and that's really, really engaging for me. And it's really creative. For me, it's like it's fun to connect the dots and ensure, make introductions and see people get excited about something that I feel excited about, because I only work with people whose projects creates a buzz in me, because then I can represent it well. So yeah, I mean, your story and just your bravery and being able to put your family's story out there is commendable to me, because every family has a story, but they don't always share it. But yours in particular, it's so timely, and it's vulnerable too to do. So I give, it's a very brave move to be an artist.
It is vulnerable, particularly because not everybody, I mean, I absolutely have my family's blessing to do it. It took me a long time to want to actually make a movie about it, because I didn't feel it was my story to tell. And an experience happened that made me realize, if I don't tell this story, nobody will, and it's got to get out there, particularly with the survivors, my mom and her sisters. At that time, when I made the decision to make the movie, my uncle had already passed away, but they're in the sunset of their lives. Like, this is it. This is it. I absolutely accept my mom to be here for the next 20 years, but let's just take the opportunity now when she's still shooting and firing on all cylinders at 81, and let's just go. Let's go for broke. And she's the one who really kind of pushed the conversation a little bit, not in terms of making a movie, but making the decision after 70 years to go back to her place of rescue, making the decision to actually engage in the story in a way that she really hadn't before, publicly. And so it kind of presented itself, and I think the vulnerable part about it is, for example, I have two aunts, one in particular that I'm thinking about right now, who I don't call her anymore, because I know that just my voice triggers emotional memories for her from the Holocaust. And that's a terrible thing, so I understand she's 90, the association is made that when Beth calls, she wants to talk about the Holocaust. Obviously, that's like the first thing from the truth. I want to call just to say, how are you today? So instead I send presents and I send flowers, and that's my way of staying in touch with her right now, because I don't want to be the trigger.
And was that something you had to think through before launching the project, or was it an unintended consequence? Because of course there's trauma that is probably not quite integrated yet into the body and all of it.
I think at the age of 90, come on, but no, I think it was definitely an unintended consequence. In part, on my part, it was hubris. I mean, it was making the assumption that so many years had passed, and that my family really are the reluctant survivors. They don't walk around with their Holocaust story. They don't walk around with it on their sleeve. My mother certainly doesn't, and I haven't known my aunts and nor my uncle my entire life. You know, my aunt and my uncle that I grew up with are from my mom's adopted family, which is the only,
Right. You
that's the
told
only
me
family
that.
I know. That's my aunt and uncle. And my grandparents are my mom's adopted parents. Those are her parents. But so oftentimes I'll speak about the Weber family as my mom's biological family. And there's still a tremendous amount of love that we've created because we've known them now since the 80s. But you know, I was born in the 60s, so there's a good 20 years there where those are the very formative years of who
Yeah.
you associate with your relatives and your aunts and your uncle and what they mean to you. And then all of a sudden, my sister tells this great story about when my mom finally decided to reunite with her biological siblings.
Mm-hmm.
My sister said, what? Now I have 21 new first cousins? First cousins? You know, I mean, that's kind of mind blowing.
Very Irish.
Right, very Irish.
I can say that with the last name Maloney.
Yes, you can. Yeah. So I think you know, I've been kind of blindly walking into different experiences. Hopefully, once I discover what the lay of the land is with each one, I am sensitive and compassionate and have empathy for what it is that my aunt or cousin is willing to talk about and say, and you know, how far is too far to push a button to get an answer. You know, it's not worth it to me to be the catalyst of nightmares for my relatives, you know.
So
But
fascinating. I mean, your journey for the film, the content, then you had the layer of your family and the dynamics there.
right.
And then just being a filmmaker and knowing how to engage with your subject. And, you know, you might say the learnings are constant, I would imagine.
They are. I mean, I think, you know, one thing that I have in my hip pocket is that I've been an actor my entire life. And so
Yes.
the job of an actor is to truly climb inside the shoes, the body, the skin, the brains of another human being.
Mm.
Or even an inanimate object, you know, take a look at, Beauty and the Beast. You know, people are walking teapots, but really you climb inside, you dig deep, and you try and figure it out. And so I think as a director, the human conversation, the human connection, and what I would hope is my intuition and sensitivity to what somebody wants to reveal or share or say comes from that place of being an actor, and comes from the understanding that whatever I'm feeling is probably what they're feeling.
Mm.
If I feel uncomfortable, they're feeling uncomfortable. And the hope is for any movie, the reason we all have these responses to filmmaking, to theater, to music, to art, to poetry, to literature, is we have this mirror neuron experience. So that the piece of art is eliciting an experience within ourselves. And we want our audience, we want to create work that will inspire an audience to feel or think or be motivated to do what the movie is offering. And so these mirror neuron experiences, I think, are really, really valuable. And once we understand them kind of from a psychological perspective, then it makes the journey a lot more fascinating. And you know, just trying to figure out the different puzzle pieces to make the story come alive for everybody.
And what I love too is you're also developing like an exhibit, and you're creating partnerships with people to really amplify the message. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, is it really does feel to me, and as you said, the secondary reasons people are interested in certain artifacts and things is it really is so timely, you know, given where we are in our country and in the world. And these are stories that are so vital, I think, to the fabric of modern society.
For sure.
You know?
I mean, we've launched, you know, the film itself is nonpartisan, and specifically making sure that it is, because we want the film to live in houses of worship, in schools, museums, and
it's a human story.
Exactly. And it's not just a Jewish story, and it's not just,
Right.
even though I'm a Democrat, it's not just a Democratic story. Of
Right.
course, you're gonna see it through my eyes because I'm the director, but I want it to be for everybody. But we do have this 60-second documentary series that is an awful lot of fun because it's
It is.
very partisan. And so we get to have a lot of fun with that. They're little 60-second clips, and we're trying to reach a generation of people that like things in 60-second bite sizes, and
Yeah.
what does it have to say? And so that's a fun place to go and have those kinds of conversations, and exactly what you're pointing toward, for sure.
Yeah, I have a question for you. So
Sure.
in your journey of a filmmaker, I mean, you in the time we've known each other, I've come to find out that, you work on yourself, you're interested in the world around you, and there's a lot of topics that you feel drawn to. In your work as an artist, what are some areas you want to focus on? I mean,
Are you froze?
Oh, I did?
Yeah.
Am I
I
back?
think it's yeah, you're back now. Good.
What was I asking you? Oh, I know. Just, your arc as an artist, where do you see yourself going in terms of other topics that capture your imagination? And, I love that you've been doing the Banters with Beth, and you're celebrating all kinds of artists and all kinds of people, really, everybody with a different background. Yeah.
Yeah. I am loving the banter. I am loving interviewing you and journalists, and we have an opera singer coming on this Sunday. Jamie Sharp is coming on talking about what she's doing. We have a composer who's written an extraordinary opera called Shanghai Sonatas, which is about what happened in the Jewish ghetto in Shanghai. He's coming on next week. So it's been really varied, and that's a lot of fun. What do I see doing next? I mean, there's no question that there's a movie about my mom and my mom alone that needs to happen. She is an extraordinary human being who had a skiing accident at the age of 44 and was a professional dancer or even a hobbyist dancer, but she danced her entire life. And at the age of 44, she broke her neck and became a quadriplegic, and has continued to dance, has continued to choreograph, has continued to be an activist for disabled rights for the last 40 years, 38 years. So there's that. That's, I was talking with one of my advising producers, and I said, do you ever find that when you're making a documentary, because this is my first documentary, that you're really shooting more than one movie? I mean, we have over 200 hours of footage, and we only have 90 minutes to make a movie, right?
Yeah, the stories always emerge even more. I mean, it's fascinating. It's like a mystery.
Right. And so she said to me, yes, you will definitely there will be another movie that you've shot that you didn't realize you shot in your movie. And that's true. So I'd say we're about a quarter of the way there with Mom. So I definitely see that happening. But the difference that I've learned as a first-time rookie filmmaker is that I will never make another movie again unless it's fully funded before I even open the shutter on the camera. So that's just going to have to be the way I roll in movie.
I get it. I understand that. Yeah. So with that, what is it that you need to complete this? I mean, what is it? Because this is a big vision, right? I mean, because it's the film, and then it's the companion curricula, and then you may not have shared with anybody, so I'm going to brag for you for a second.
Okay.
But you've got some really interesting partnerships in development. One with a major museum. We can't say who it is as yet.
Actually,
but
we can.
We can?
Yes.
I didn't get that email.
Yeah. So actually, the email went out this morning at like 4 a.m. So no one has seen it yet, unless. But the Holocaust Museum of Los Angeles, we're partnering with them, and it's really, really exciting. They will be promoting Banter with Beth, and they'll be having a screening of the film when the film is released. Yeah. We're in post-production right now. We are, I would say we are maybe a quarter of the way through our edit process. we intend to have a rough cut by the end of January, and it's my dream and hope that we will have our premiere in May, on May 20th, 2021. The reason I picked that date is that's the 76th anniversary of the Weber siblings emigrating to America and stepping off the...
I didn't know that. That's so moving.
Yeah. And so that's when they stepped on, they saw Lady Liberty and took their first step on New York Harbor. So what do we need? We need, we're raising $500,000 right now. That's what we're doing. We need to pay for rights. We need to pay for my editor. We need to pay for scoring the film, for animation, for special effects. I mean, it's a long, long list. Deliverables, film festival submissions, an educational curricula and component. And then, of course, we hope, and this is super early, so there's actually no official announcement because it hasn't been created yet, but I absolutely know that we will have an exhibit on the Weber siblings, and really the heroism of Arthur and Paula Schmidt, who were the greengrocers, Christian farmers, German Christian farmers, who hid the 7 siblings together for 2 years at the risk of their own lives. So there are so many things about this story to be celebrated, and that people can learn from. Future generations, I hope, will really embrace the extraordinary empathy and compassion that the Schmidts had for the Weber family at large, and what they did. We have a 60-second documentary, number 5. If you go on, it's right here on Instagram, and it's on our YouTube channel, Beth Lane Film. And there's number 5 really explains a little bit about this, what we think the psyche of the Schmidts could have possibly been in order to take such a bold and courageous act. So those are really
I love that. Yeah, and I mean, the thing that I would just want to say to people is, you know, there's a couple of things that if you do choose to donate and support this work right now, you know, there's lots of ways to do it. And it's not something that, you know, you're looking for different introductions. It doesn't always have to be monetary.
Right.
But if they do choose to make a contribution, there's, you know, depending on the size, they might be able to also get an exec producer credit.
Yes.
And
different levels.
Yeah.
We have different levels of giving. If anybody's interested, just shoot us an email at wouldyohideme@gmail.com or Beth Lane.
And of course, it's a write-off and it's end of year.
Everything's tax deductible. It's end of year. And of course, we're happy to take pledges for 2021, so we don't want to discount that.
That's right.
And then even just hitting the little like button on this video, or even on our Instagram.
Yeah, please share. You never know who's gonna come across it. I've definitely run into that with projects in the past. But just to highlight something that I think is interesting is that, you know, many of us grew up with the story of Anne Frank in the background, but I don't know that everybody realized, at least for me, when I learned that story, I thought that was a unique story unto itself. And then as I got older, I found out that there were many hidden children, which is what your mother and her siblings were. And each story is profound and a testament to the human spirit, regardless of how it ended.
Yes.
And I've shared this with you. I have a mentor, or had a mentor for a long time, who was a hidden child in Budapest and made her way to New York, through Ecuador, working. And it was just her plight was remarkable. And the more that these stories are shared, the more that they won't happen again, right? And that's why it's so important.
Yes, absolutely. And it's, you know, we're all in this together. We're all in this big soup of the cosmos, this little ball that's spinning in the atmosphere. That's all it is. Right. You know, we're guests here. We're guests, and we're here to do this work together. And and I really feel that way. I really, truly do.
Agree.
You know, and I know you do, because that's why I think we have such a simpatico about how do we approach this kind of work. And I find that you are such an inspiration to me. You are brave. You are
thanks.
You know, that is not my comfort zone, development and fundraising. That is not my comfort zone. I like to do it for other causes. But when it comes,
I know you've done your fair share.
Right. But when it comes to me or a project that I'm doing, it's that's just not, maybe it's how I was raised to be very, I don't know. So but you've inspired me because how you've worked with Heal the Bay, how you've worked with your friends in Syria, how you've worked with or Iraq. I mean,
yeah, both. Yeah, they're both there.
Yeah, and it's commendable, and it's
thank you.
A privilege to know you and the work that you're doing, Carrie, and for everyone.
Thank you.
You know, as we're signing off here today, I want everyone to know about you. Carrie Maloney has a boutique fundraising and development firm called Carrie Allison Projects. You can find her on LinkedIn. And
thank you.
And I just think the world of what you do, and thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure. Well, thank you for being here with us on Banter with Beth today.
Thank you.
We'll be back on Sunday at 10 o'clock with Jamie.
Yeah, tune in, guys.
Yeah.
With an opera singer, right?
She's an opera singer who has
remarkable.
It's pretty remarkable to hear for such a young woman what she has accomplished so far in terms of creating opera companies for minorities. So
wow, the power of sound.
Yeah.
Not something I can speak, but one could argue I can't carry a tune despite my name. It's okay.
You probably can.
We'll find out.
Anyway, it's great to be with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Beth.
For everybody who tuned in with us, and I'm waving to all of you, and until the next time.
Okay. Take care. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye. Thank you. Bye.